I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cotton. Sorry, guys, you get it. I've lived my life by those words for like damn near 20 years now, which is kind of horrifying to think about because as of February 27th, 2016, Pokemon will be 20 years old. It made its debut in Japan 20 years ago with Pokemon Red and Green, and since then, it's become this sprawling, whale-lord-sized mega franchise with 6 generations of games, spin-offs, multiple anime series, manga, and much more. Still no Pokemon Snap sequel though. It's pretty f***ed up. Just saying. But with a fandom that large, there's gonna be plenty of wild, cockamamie theories to go along with it, and so today on the Dan Cave, we are celebrating the craziest fan theories this side of the Kanto region. The Pokemon War Theory. This is maybe the most widespread of all the fan theories out there, and it's pretty bleak to say the least. In the original game, there's seemingly no adults to be found. It's a world that's populated mainly by the very, very young and the very, very old, with a few exceptions here and there. The player character, Red, doesn't seem to have a dad, and your main rival, Blue, aka Gary Oak, has no parents at all, just his weird grandfather, Professor Oak. Now the theory goes that this is because there was a massive war that ravaged the Kanto region, and the massive casualties from said conflict left a considerable age gap in the population. Now this theory is corroborated further by Lieutenant Surge, one of the gym leaders you encounter, who brags about how electric-type Pokemon saved his butt during the war. It's also further corroborated by the fact that there's no infrastructure safe for hospitals and gyms, and there's a weird emphasis in the entire world about training and combat. It's like all people think about. Even sadder though, is the notion that Professor Oak sends young adventurers out into the world with Pokedexes because they need to catalog what breeds of Pokemon survived the catastrophe and which went extinct. That's pretty heavy, man.
Meowth, that's right!
A murder most foul. Now, speaking of heavy subject matter, one theory suggests that you, the player, are responsible for basically murdering your rival's Raticate. Remember how in the original games that dingus Blue always comes after you with his toothy little rat beast every single time, all the way up through the SS Anne? But then when you catch up with him in Lavender Town in the original, you find him in a graveyard, and Raticate is nowhere to be seen. To make things even creepier, according to some fans, Blue asks you if you know what it's like to have a Pokemon die. Jesus. Well, guess what, pal? You and your fighting force beat this poor guy's Raticate to death. You beat it so badly back on the SS Anne, it didn't just faint, it shuffled off this Poke Coil. You're a murderer. You're a murderer, Harry. I mean, Red, whatever franchise, you killed him.
Meowth, that's right!
Life after death. So what happens when you die in the world of Pokemon? Do you go to the great Pokemon Center in the sky where Nurse Joy feeds you rare candies on a cloud made of rainbows and wishes? I don't know. No one knows for sure. I'm Poke agnostic. But there is a theory about ghost-type Pokemon that some say that they're the reincarnated spirits of humans. Like Yamask, whose Pokedex entry says it used to be human and remembers its past life, carrying a mask of its human face around and just straight up weeping. That's messed up, dude. Others, though, are much darker. For example, Lampent. Lampent is a Pokemon who chills out in hospitals, waiting for people to die so it can steal your soul. Or Duskull, who's said to kidnap bad little children and straight up loves the sounds of kids weeping, like some sort of battling Krampus. Or, in The Sixth Sense, how Bruce Willis was a ghost-type Pokemon all along.
Meowth, that's right!
Laser clones. Let me ask you something. Do you remember Mewtwo? You know, the mega powerful product of Mew DNA, painful gene splicing, and human hubris? Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as some fans are concerned. Some theorize that Professor Oak himself helped contribute to the research on the Mewtwo project. But he didn't stop there. Apparently, the good doctor tried bioengineering human clones using microscopic lasers. Using 2 separate lasers, the good doctor made 2 discrete subjects, the first of which lacked emotion. It was something of a blank slate, a tabula rasa, if you will, and you should. Whereas the second was more human, more able to pass as a young boy. The first subject was carried to term by a surrogate mother in nearby Pallet Town, whereas the second one was grown in a test tube in Oak's lab. The mother chose to raise the child as her own, whereas Oak elected to raise the second subject as his grandson. They wound up being named for the color of the lasers used in their creation, red and blue. Holy shit.
Meowth, that's right!
MissingNo's secret origin. You know, MissingNo.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu! No!
No, dummy, it's the glitchtacular Tetris block-shaped Pokemon that lurks off the coast of Cinnabar Island back in Red and Blue. Well, some fans have a theory that MissingNo isn't a unique Pokemon. Rather, MissingNo is what becomes of Pokemon who are left in their Pokeballs for too long. The theory stems from a webcomic by Tumblr's Obsessive Forge and Project Tiger. Now, given that Pokemon can be transmitted electronically, this theory posits that said data can become corrupted over time, especially if it lies dormant for too long. Though if I were a Garbodor, I'd probably yearn for the sweet release of digital death too, am I right? Am I right, guys? This guy knows, am I right?
Meowth, that's right.
Man, who knew that a game involving children leaving their homes, enslaving animals, and forcing them to fight for sport could get so dark? Anyway, what do you think of these theories? Do you have any favorites that I left out? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're there, give me a super effective thumbs up. Don't press B. Don't press B. That's all for today's show. Tune in next time we talk about the terrifying true story of Robert De Niro as a masturbating grandfather who goes into the jungles of Vietnam to kill an insane Zac Efron and Dirty Grandpocalypse Now. Until next time, keep on digging. Oh, what's this? A surprise bonus segment? Let's open up the old mailbag, shall we? You've got questions, I've got answers. At Alicia Malone asks, what's your favorite film at Sundance? Easy. Kenneth Lonergan's Manchester by the Sea. It's a crushing portrait of grief full of wicked Boston accents. Look for it later this year. At Nina Friel asks, what MCU Phase 3 movie am I most looking forward to? No question, Black Panther, gonna be badass as hell. Next. At Cookie4480 Cook asks, how did the old Arrow lose his arm? Well, in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, Green Arrow's seen missing an arm and was recently imprisoned, and he blames Superman for all of it. So my theory is that Superman amputated or ripped it off to prevent Ollie from vigilantism. Either way, pretty brutal. Whew, that was a lot. Guys, if you have questions, tweet them to me using hashtag TheDanCave, and I'll see you next time.